that every time you get to the other side of that waiting period, you always have that moment of, okay, that's why it had to happen the way it did. That's why that door closed or that door opened, or I had to lose this person in order to meet this person, or XYZ had to happen so this opportunity could happen. We all have moments in our lives where that has been the case, and it's always when we feel the most frustrated or the most confused when we tend to have that breakthrough, or those answers start coming to us when we stop looking for them. Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. If you are new, my name is ICIE, and I'm so happy to have you here. So by the title of this video, you can tell that I am going to be doing a bit of a life update. I'm going to be taking this opportunity on a quiet Sunday afternoon to just speak very honestly about how I've been feeling, what I have been going through. Also, I have a little stuffed animal here. It's kind of like my emotional support stuffed animal. I've had this stuffed animal since I was 5 years old, so he's gonna be with us in today's video. But I just wanted to take the opportunity to sit down and talk very honestly about how I'm really feeling, because I share a lot of the good stuff in my life. I share me getting my first car, I share my journey to studying for the LSAT, I share work vlogs in my life, I share going home with my friends and family, and that is a part of my life, and I never want those good things in my life to ever feel inauthentic, because that is genuinely how I'm feeling in that moment. And there are very positive, happy things going on in my life, but there's also internal feelings that I have been feeling, I guess, ever since the beginning of this year, and maybe I want to say since November of last year even. There's going to be so many different things that I'm going to be touching on. In fact, I wrote it down in my notebook because I didn't want to forget anything. And also in this video, I am going to try to not script myself, which is why I just turned on the camera and decided that I'm going to speak from my heart. And I'm gonna just try to not edit this video as much as well, because I want this to be very real and honest, and just a honest reflection on how I'm currently doing right at this moment. I also want to start this video off by saying that I am on my period, so if I get emotional during this video, then please know that it's probably because of that. I've also been feeling a little bit more emotional the past few days. I'm on day 2, so for those of you ladies watching this, then ups and downs of the emotions that we have to go through as women. So if I get a little bit emotional, then that's why. Also, you may hear some background noise. There are birds that will often fly around my apartment because I live close to the ocean, so if you hear that, just ignore it. But yeah, I'm going to take this opportunity to just talk to you guys as if we are catching up, like old friends. This is also an opportunity for me, I think, to check in with myself. I do a lot of my own writing and journaling for my emotions, so this is kind of more of like a visual format of that, and me vocalizing how I'm feeling. So let's just start there. How am I really feeling? And also I want to bounce that question off to you as well. How are you really feeling? Maybe this video can give you an opportunity to also check in with yourself and how you're doing emotionally, mentally, physically. I can, say for myself that, like I've already mentioned, it's been a bit of a more emotional past few days. Definitely has a lot to do with the time of month that it is, for sure. It's always so funny because when I'm feeling extremely anxious, like more than usual, almost, I want to say 9 out of 10 times, I get my period the next day and it's like, oh, okay, I know why I was feeling those feelings so intensely. And in a way, it makes me feel a little bit better because there's an explanation for it, and it's not just me being dramatic, but it's because my hormone levels are literally changing and shifting, and so that's why I'm feeling those emotions so intensely. I've just been feeling a little bit more emotional lately for sure. I've been having a little bit more anxiety, which I have also talked about before on my channel and been very honest about. Life is really, really good in terms of my career and YouTube, and I'm so happy with the growth that I've been seeing, and just being able to watch our community grow has been really, really cool, and it's something that I'm still in shock about. That's something that I have built, you know, essentially all by myself. Also something about YouTube that I don't know if I express enough, but it is such a healing thing for me. It really, really is, because with the chaos of work and the chaos of life in general, YouTube for me is my space that I can just fully be myself. I can create, which I would say is probably when I'm the most happy, is when I'm able to feel creatively fulfilled, and YouTube has given me that space to do that, along with the amazing community that we've been able to build has also been incredibly rewarding, and it's almost healing that part of myself as a child or growing up that didn't feel like I belonged anywhere, and somehow YouTube just creates this individual space where I feel like I feel at home. I don't know if I thank you guys enough for being here with me and watching my videos, whether you watch my work vlogs or you watch my lifestyle vlogs, or you're here for all of it or just a part of my life. Whatever type of viewer you are, I appreciate each and every one of you. Anyway, back to dealing with my emotions. Something that is interesting for me to reflect on is that I'm a lot more guarded, I would say, when it comes to processing my emotions, which is a shift for me, because I think growing up a lot, I'm naturally just a very emotional person. I'm a Cancer, so those things, like any type of feelings, I feel very deeply. So I've always been hypersensitive to my emotions, very self-aware, to almost a point sometimes where it can feel too much and just all-consuming. But I would say within the past year and a half, and I don't know if this is a response to maybe some really hard things that I had to go through emotionally last year and having to be physically alone for a lot of that. I don't know if in a way that made me, I guess, hardened in a way where now when I'm dealing with my emotions, I kind of just push past it. I don't really reach out as much and talk about those feelings as openly, and I kind of just deal with it on my own. And part of that is just so that way I don't want that to affect my work, and because of my role being so demanding and the responsibilities that I have, it would be impossible to be able to do a good job, and then for my brain or for my mind to mentally not be there. And so part of it is that, and I do think as you grow older you get better at just compartmentalizing your feelings, and that's just part of life. And so, you know, that comes with the territory and being in your 20s. But also I think there's a part of me that definitely pushes down those emotions or can minimize how I feel, for sure, because I don't want to feel it. Like, that's just the reality of it. And then I will definitely use YouTube work as a distraction to avoid those hard feelings. And I also want to say that that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think when we're dealing with our emotions, it's nice to have outlets, and work has also been a healthier distraction than, let's say, other forms or, you know, ways of distracting myself. But there also comes a point where you do have to check in and just ask yourself, you know, how am I really truly feeling? And something that I've always struggled with is admitting out loud when I'm not okay or when I'm stressed, because I think my brain takes that as like I'm failing in some way, like when I'm not at my peak capacity, and that's just not the case. And I know that has to do with my own pride and my own ego of not wanting to admit when I'm not necessarily feeling the most happy, cheerful self that I try to be here on camera for you guys. I guess, how am I feeling? I'm feeling okay. I know I'm going to feel better as the days go by and as the week goes by. I would also say that I'm feeling just a little bit more anxious because I'm in this waiting season in my life. Sorry guys, I'm like a little tongue twisted right now, as you can tell. Let me slow down. But I was watching this YouTube video from a content creator that I found, and her name is Caitlin May, and she was talking about being in a waiting season in your life and how she has used her faith to get through times in her life where she felt that she was in this waiting season, whether it's having a career breakthrough or waiting for the right relationship to work out, or just anything in life, you know, that transitory period where you're doing everything right and you're making the right steps, but you know, you just haven't reached that end goal yet, or you haven't obtained what you're looking for exactly, and you're doing all the right things, and in your perception you may not be moving fast enough, or things aren't going the way, you know, you may want it to go. And I really resonated with that because I feel that a lot. I really do feel like I am in that waiting phase. Last year, I took time to sit with myself, and being single for the past year and a half has really allowed me to get to know myself on such a deeper level. And it's something that I haven't talked about really, is my experience with singleness and how it's impacted me and what I've learned. I've touched on it in a few videos here and there, but I've never openly talked about how I feel about it all the time. And I would say it's been one of the most transformative and hardest, but also beautiful experiences, because I have learned so much about myself as a person and as a daughter, and how I want to show up in a relationship, and all of these aspects about myself that we all have. You know, we're all multifaceted people, and I've learned so many different aspects about myself that I wasn't able to fully lean into being in a committed relationship, because obviously your time and your energy is spent in that relationship. So that energy and time that I was investing in that person, I was able to give back to myself, and it's been incredibly healing. And I think I'm at that point now where I know what I want, and I do feel that there has been a lot of healing where I am ready now for that next level when that right person comes. But I also just haven't found that person where I can see that future and commitment with, or it hasn't worked out. And that can be really frustrating when you feel ready, but the circumstances around you, or for whatever reason, it doesn't work out and it's out of your control. So being in that waiting season can feel frustrating and confusing, and I definitely have been on that journey of trying to be patient, and then feeling very content, and then feeling frustrated by it. Healing is never a linear process. Like, I don't think you're ever fully healed, but I think you do reach a stage where you are aware enough about who you are as a person to your core, and what's important to you and what you don't want, that it at least puts you in the right headspace emotionally to enter a new relationship with someone. That's how I feel about relationships. And I think I have been leaning more into my faith with God and just asking him, you know, and just trying to listen to him and trying to really understand the type of partner that I want in my next relationship. We often feel like we know better, and I think this is so true because she talked about it in her video that every time you get to the other side of that waiting period, you always have that moment of, okay, that's why it had to happen the way it did. That's why that door closed or that door opened, or I had to lose this person in order to meet this person, or XYZ had to happen so this opportunity could happen. We all have moments in our lives where that has been the case, and it's always when we feel the most frustrated or the most confused when we tend to have that breakthrough, or those answers start coming to us when we stop looking for them. But of course, until you get to that point, it's a lot easier said than done to have that mindset. I just kind of wanted to touch on that a little bit because my life is so rich with love when it comes to my family and my friends. I feel so incredibly blessed with that because that's something that I know that not everyone has that blessing to have such a strong community of people and relationships, whether it's romantic or platonic. So I feel incredibly blessed with the connections that I have in my life, the friends in my life who are so supportive, who are rooting for my success, and who are also there for me when I need them, and who have shown me so much love and just vulnerability at the same time. You know, I'm still human, and with being single, you can still feel lonely. You know, I opened up about this on my Instagram story about the concept of duality. You can be a fully independent, confident person and still feel lonely sometimes, you know? Just because you're confident or just because you've worked through things, it doesn't mean that you don't have nights where you don't feel lonely or you don't wish that you had maybe someone to share an experience with. Like, two things can be true at once, and that's something that I've learned, is that I can fully enjoy being single and I can really embrace my singleness, but it's also true that I can feel lonely at sometimes, and it doesn't mean that I'm any less confident or any less deserving of having a fun single life experience as a 23-year-old woman. Two things can be true at once, and that's something that I'm trying to give myself grace about, and just allowing myself to feel it. Like, if there's one night and I feel lonely, just allowing myself to feel that and knowing that it's a normal feeling. Everyone has gone through that at some point in their lives. It's not going to be the last time you're going to feel it, and you're not the last person that, you know, has gone through this. And in a way, that's a little bit comforting because it all connects us a little bit, even though we each have our own individual lives, own goals, own priorities. These universal feelings are something that we've all felt, and there's a beauty and a humbleness to that because you don't feel so alone in your feelings. I've been at a point where I do feel very comfortable, and I feel like I've reached a point where I can confidently say that I do enjoy my alone time and I'm very independent, but it doesn't mean, even with all of the inner healing and all of the self-development or self-growth that I've done, it doesn't mean that I'm not gonna feel lonely still. Like, it's just a human thing, and you can't really get around that, you know, as long as you're still living and breathing on this earth. Loneliness is just a part of being a human. But on the same end, there's also community. When there's lightness, there's also darkness. So you need the opposite of something in order to fully appreciate that thing, if that makes sense, right? And I don't have to fear loneliness so much because it's just a human experience, a human emotion. And man, I feel like I've been talking for so long already. But the other thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about is burnout. And it's interesting because the burnout that I've been experiencing is not like any other burnout that I've experienced in my life. Usually when I have a burnout, it's because I've been going so hard at something and I just crash. You know, whether it's studying so much for a test or being in school and doing work, and then I kind of just hit a wall. This type of burnout that I experienced recently was more of like a slow burn. Ever since November, when I got promoted and then I committed to posting more consistently to YouTube and setting a goal for myself that I want YouTube to start becoming a source of income for me. And by doing that, of course, you have to upload consistently, and trying to do both at the same time. It was like a burnout that I was feeling super fulfilled by my work and I wanted to become better at it. At the same time, I was feeling extremely passionate about YouTube. So it's like when I was burnt out, it didn't feel like it because you're doing something that you love, but at the same time, eventually you're gonna feel it, you're gonna feel those effects. And I did start feeling that, I would say, in January, where when I was in that constant upload schedule of editing, filming, and then uploading, and then going to work throughout the day, I, kind of felt like, I mentioned this in my last video, that I was losing track of time, that I was almost playing a role because I couldn't just live my life without having to document everything, and I took an unintentional break from that. And so this burnout really has just been more drawn out. I find it manifesting in different ways. Like I said before, usually when I have a burnout, it's like I hit a wall and it's because I've been going 1,000 miles per hour, and then I just can't give anymore. And it leads to this like breakdown and like very dramatic, like me crying and all these things. But in this way, how it's manifested is that I, just feel myself getting a little bit more low energy, feeling just, a little bit more irritable, or like I just don't have the energy to give, or like I'm kind of going in slow motion. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, like a slow burnout is something that I haven't experienced before. Because when, like I said, when you're doing something that you love so much, it doesn't feel like you're being burnt out. I think though I've handled the burnout a lot better than I have in other years, where I would be really hard on myself. And now when I need to take a break from YouTube, I take that break. I tell myself that, you know what, it's better to take your time with your content and post something that you're proud to post, rather than just post something for the sake of posting. And that is something that I do think I am better at myself now, is giving myself time to not force myself to create content for the sake of creating content, and taking those mini breaks rather than just waiting for myself to fully break down and then having to take a break. I guess also the other thing that I wanted to open up about is my anxiety. My anxiety is something that I've accepted that it's never fully gonna go away. I've had seasons of my life where it's definitely more heightened. I've had seasons where I have anxiety and depression, or where my depression feels more intense than the anxiety, or vice versa. And I think the anxiety is more so just, again, related to being in that waiting season in life, where I feel like, okay, I have all my ducks in a row, and now it's just all about trusting the timing of my life and letting things happen and letting the pieces fall where they're gonna fall. Not just when it comes to a romantic relationship, but even with LSAT studying. Like, I feel like I have been really intimidated by the process to study for the LSAT, just because it seems so big. But I have been getting advice from my coworkers and my friends about how they studied for this big test, and I have all the tools and the resources, and now it's just about trusting myself, just starting somewhere and not letting the fear of failure, or the fear of maybe not getting the result I want right away, to deter me from actually just starting. Just a lot of things that I'm waiting on, and I'm in that phase where it's just kind of like, okay, like you've done everything that you could do, you've worked on yourself as much as you can, and now you just have to trust God and trust the timing of your life. And that's a very almost liberating but also frustrating feeling, because when you're a control freak like me and you have a very type A personality, you're constantly thinking like, okay, well, what can I do now? Or what self-help book can I read? Or what audiobook can I add to my list to, understand how I can be a better partner? And you do all of these things, and there does come a point where you just have to kind of stop and just be like, and just embrace that you've done the growth that you needed to do and there's nothing more that you can do, and just continue what you're doing. And there's nothing that you can do to expedite that process, because I think that's another thing that in our culture, there's so many fads and fixes. There's so much information out there that makes you feel like you have to constantly be improving yourself, when in reality, maybe the thing that you need to do is actually just stop and live your life normally with the information that you have now, that you have been able to gather. That's something that I have been trying to accept, that not everything needs to be improved. Like sometimes you don't need to fix something that wasn't even broken. I don't really know where I'm going with this, because now I feel like I'm going on a tangent, but basically what I am trying to say is that there are things in life that we just have to accept. And when we've done enough growing and healing, you know, it's not up to us anymore to expedite that process, whether it's finding a romantic partner or whether it's, you know, trying to reach that level in your career. When you're honest with yourself and you can tell yourself, okay, like I've done everything that I can in my ability, and now it's just about letting things happen and trusting God and trusting the timing of life, and then not trying to rush that process. I hope that made sense. Those are, you know, some of the things that I have been feeling, that have been on my heart. Today, I took it pretty easy. I didn't, you know, force myself to do too much, and I just kind of allowed myself to be. And that's something that I'm trying to just get better at, that, you know, I don't always have to be the most productive or the most motivated. Sometimes your best is gonna look different every day. It's okay to deal with these hard emotions. It's part of life. You can't always be on a high all the time and feel like, you know, creatively inspired. And I think my camera might die soon, so I am going to try and wrap this video up. I hope some of this made sense, and hopefully you took something of this. This really was more of like a stream of consciousness, as if I were to journal all of this in my notebook. Instead, I am talking out loud to you guys, so this is kind of like my own personal therapy session for myself. And if anything, I hope it was just comforting to know that you're not alone when you have these emotions of anxiety, loneliness, fears about the future, fears if you're doing enough. If anything, I hope that you can feel a little less alone in these feelings by watching this video. I hope you guys are having a good day wherever you are watching this. I'm gonna try and edit and get this video up by today. It's Sunday, which is my second upload day, so I'm gonna try and get this video up for you guys. Like I said, I don't want this to be too edited. I just wanted to speak from the heart and post this and hopefully give you guys a, you know, a little bit of comfort in your day. We also made it through this video without getting emotional, and I do feel like this has helped me actually being able to talk about this. I was a little bit nervous filming this video because, one, I didn't really know where the conversation was gonna go, and I just told myself I'm gonna hit record and let myself speak wherever I want to go, and wherever direction I go, I'll just kind of allow myself to go with that. Thank you guys for always supporting and watching my videos. It really means the world to me, and I will see you very soon in